How's it going, everyone? Mega Man here, finally back. For a long time, I had a lot of personal issues going on in my life, a lot of it revolving around my job, and it kind of caused me to not really want to play any games for a while. But I am back now, with the release of Marching Fire, and I wanted to start off my starter guides with Jiang Jun, who I think, in my personal opinion, is the most interesting character to be released. To start things off, Jiang Jun's light attacks are all 500 milliseconds from all sides, whether it be a starting light or a chained light. His starting lights also do 18 damage, and his chain lights do 20 damage. Now for his heavy attacks, all of which are 1000 milliseconds from all sides, whether it be starting or chained. His starting heavies are also uninterruptible, and his chained heavies are unblockable. His starting side heavies do 33, and the chain side heavies do 40, whereas the starting top heavy does 37, and the chain top heavy does 45. Next, we're going to talk about his forward dodge top heavy. This attack is 1000 MS and it does 25 damage. You can cancel it by either pressing the feint button like you would a normal attack, or by pressing the guard break button to convert it into an unblockable kick. This kick is 400 milliseconds, does 30 stamina damage, and guarantees a light attack for 20 damage. The kick also causes a wall splat and allows him to get a guaranteed 45 damage top heavy, making this one of the highest damaging unblockables in the game. And the last feature of the kick is that even if you miss, you can still follow with an attack afterwards. This is really important because your opponent can't just dodge it and then punish you with a guard break, because you can always do a light attack to interrupt their guard break. Next, we're going to talk about the side dodge heavy attacks, which are very similar to the forward dodge heavy in that they are both 1000 MS and they also do 25 damage. And similar to the forward dodge heavy, these are considered chain starters. And they can also be cancelled by pressing light attack, which is going to do a 400 MS light attack from the opposite side, that does 15 damage, or they can be hard feinted just like a normal heavy attack. Next, we're going to talk about his zone attack. It's a 600 MS heavy attack that always comes from the right side. It does 28 damage, costs 60 stamina, which is half of his maximum, and is considered a chain starter, which is a unique property that very few characters have. Now for the last of his basic attacks, we have his sprinting heavy attack. This is a double hitting attack. Both attacks are 800 milliseconds. They always come from the top. The first attack does 20 damage and the second one does 25, and you can always cancel before the second attack. Next, we're going to talk about his parry follow-ups. So we're going to start with the zone attack. This is going to be guaranteed on every parry, and comparing it to the normal zone attack, this is a 500 MS attack compared to a 600, and it's also unblockable, which makes this very good in 2v1 situations. The second parry follow-up is the Sifu's choke. This is done by pressing guard break after a successful parry. Your character will choke them in place, drain their stamina, and then smack them at the end. The smack will do 6 damage, and the minimum time it takes to choke them is 1500 MS, but you can hold the guard break button to extend it to 2000 MS and also drain additional stamina. Now, if your opponent is already out of stamina when you start the choke, you will knock them down at the end, allowing you to get a free 45 damage follow-up. The next important part of Jiang Jun's kit is the Sifu stance. In this stance, he will constantly be regenerating stamina. You can go into the stance by holding down on the stance control. You can cancel the recovery of your light attacks or your heavy attacks into the Sifu stance, and you can also cancel the startup of your heavy attacks into the stance. And it also works if you're out of stamina, making it a lot safer for Jiang Jun to run out of stamina. Now, while he's in his stance, the only action he can do is a zone attack. Now, the zone attack is exactly the same, except for that it comes from the left side. Other than that, it's still 600 MS, it still does 28 damage, and it's still a chain starter. But just know that if you're fighting against a Jiang Jun, if he ever goes into his stance, the zone attack's always going to be coming from his left side. And the last feature of the Sifu stance is that it does have a dodge property, very similar to that of Nobushi's hidden stance, but just know that you can still get guard broken while you're in this, so try not to abuse it too much. Now we're going to talk about his guard break punishes. So obviously you can always get a light attack, which his light attacks do 18 damage, that's pretty good. But unfortunately you cannot get a heavy attack. So very similar to Raider, his heavy attacks are just far too slow for them to land on a guard break. So your alternative option is a zone attack for 28 damage, which is still really good, but unfortunately he has to use half his stamina and you can't even get an execution off of it. Now you can get a heavy attack if you throw them into a wall, but it has to be at a very specific distance. Because of the way that Jiang Jun's throw works, they usually hit the wall before he recovers from the throw, meaning that they start recovering from the wall splat before you start your heavy attack. And most of the time your heavy attack will just be blocked. So in my personal opinion, I would rather just go for the zone attack and get the guaranteed damage rather than throw him into the wall and miss out on the damage. Now on to the exhausted punishes. Jiang Jun has a very simple and very effective punish. All you have to do is throw them to either the left, right, or backwards, and then do a light attack and then a top heavy. First light does 18 and the top heavy is going to do 45 for a total of 63 damage. Now there is a slightly more damaging punish if your opponent's near the wall, which is going to be a zone attack into a top heavy. This is going to be overall more damage than the last punish by 10 points, but it is a little more difficult to do due to the fact that the zone attack just doesn't always hit them while they're falling down. And personally, I would rather just do the light attack into the top heavy because it's far more consistent. Now on to parry punishes. The highest damage heavy parry punish is the zone attack, which is going to do 28 damage. And also if you parry a heavy attack, you can just do a light attack if you don't have the stamina. Now if you parry a light attack, your highest damage punish is a top heavy for 37 damage. Now, as for the exhausted parry punish, you're going to do a zone attack into a top heavy for 73 damage. This is the same as the exhausted throw punish from earlier, except you don't need a wall to do it. Now if you're in revenge, every time you parry somebody it's going to knock them down, meaning you can do the same punish but get more damage. And with the enhanced damage, the zone attack is going to do 37 damage and the top heavy is going to do 59 for a total of 96. Now you can always just do a light attack into a top heavy, and with the enhanced damage, light attack is going to do 24, top heavy is going to do 59 for a total of 83 damage. Alright, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about defending against Jiang Jun's mix-ups, and I'm going to start with the easier one, which is the side dodge heavies. And really the only mix-up part about this is the soft tainted side light, simply because the side light is 400 milliseconds, and that's pretty much like the nightmare number for, especially for console players. Like 500 is hard to react to, 400 it's like it's just a plain guess at that point. There's no playing around it. And the thing that I found out as the best way to defend against this is no matter who you're playing, just back dodge. And the reason you want to back dodge, not only it dodges both attacks, but more than likely it's going to dodge a guard break. And even if he cancels and goes into a guard break and he catches you, you got to remember Jiang Jun doesn't get a heavy attack on a guard break. So he might only get a light attack if he doesn't have enough stamina. And even if he does have enough stamina, he's getting a zone attack and he's going to be using half his stamina. So you're really just using Jiang Jun's weakness against him, and there's not really anything he can do about it. Alright, so the next mix-up I want to talk about is probably the stronger one of the two, which is his 4 dodge heavy into his kick. Simply because the kick is also 400 milliseconds, just like the light attack from the side heavy mix-up. But of course it's an unblockable, and that just makes it that much more threatening. My initial way to kind of beat it that seems to work is just, if you have a 500 millisecond light attack, just press light attack. Like, you see him starting that heavy attack, just press light attack, and a lot of times you'll hit him out of it. As long as it's 500 ms, it will beat it a lot of the time. Sometimes if you don't react fast enough, of course you'll get hit by it, but most of the time it does work. And the other thing, this is not as important, but if they're using their Sifu stance a lot, remember, the only move they can do out of the Sifu stance is the zone attack, and it's always going to come from your right side. So if you see them go into the stance and then you see an attack indicator, just parry to the right, and it's an easy parry at that point. Alright guys, so that's going to be it for this video. once again, I know I've been away for what seems like forever, which it pretty much was forever. Like, I think my last video was like 10 months ago or something, which is absolutely crazy. I was just going through such a tough time. Like, it's something I haven't had to deal with in a long time. And it really just put me in such a bad mood that I didn't even want to play games anymore, which was a first time for me. Like, games were always my safe haven. Whenever I had problems, I would just play games, forget about it. And yeah, the problems that I went through, I couldn't even solve it by playing games, which was really weird. But yeah, I am back for now, and I'm gonna try to make videos as often as I can. I'm still working 5 days a week, so I really only have like 2 days to upload videos, and it does take me a while to upload it because I gotta get the footage, and then the editing does. It's not so simple on PS4, so. But for anybody watching this, who's my subscriber, thank you for at least still being subscribed to me. I know some people like to, cancel subscriptions if no one uploads, but if you're still there for me, I really appreciate it. So, thank you guys. I'll see you guys in my next video.